For years, I followed every responsible money rule, saving consistently, budgeting carefully, yet still feeling anxious, uncertain, and strangely stuck inside. No matter how disciplined I became or how much I saved, progress never matched the effort, stress, or sacrifice required. If you have ever saved faithfully, yet still felt behind, frustrated, or confused, this conversation was made for you. Before we go deeper, gently tap, like if money stress has followed you, even while doing everything right. Drop a quick comment with your age, or write "stuck" below, so I know exactly who is watching today. And if calm, honest conversations about money help you think clearer, consider subscribing for future videos like this. I am not here to sell hype, shortcuts, or dreams, just clarity, honesty, and lessons I learned painfully late. Because the uncomfortable truth is, money was never designed to sit quietly still and patiently wait for you. That misunderstanding kept me blaming myself, thinking I lacked discipline, intelligence, or control over my financial life completely. But the deeper I looked, the clearer it became. This stuck feeling was built directly into the system. Koi Teamsart. Saving feels safe, responsible, and mature, yet somehow it rarely delivers the security, peace, or freedom promised long-term. That contradiction is not accidental, and it does not exist because you are careless, bad, or irresponsible financially. Most people never question this because saving sounds morally correct. Safe, comforting, and socially rewarded behavior everywhere today. I believed it completely until I noticed how often savings quietly lost ground against rising everyday costs everywhere. Each year, prices climbed faster than my savings account interest could realistically protect my future purchasing power alone. Ikinur. The more I saved, the more pressure I felt to save harder just to avoid falling backward financially. That was the moment I realized effort, discipline, and motivation were never the real problem inside my life. The real problem was understanding what modern money is designed to do behind the scenes every single day. Money today behaves very differently from the simple lessons most of us were taught growing up about saving. Once you understand that design, the feeling of being stuck finally stops feeling mysterious, confusing, frustrating, and personal. That realization forced me to question not my habits, but the financial system shaping everyday decisions silently around. I started asking why saving felt responsible, yet never seemed enough to create lasting security for ordinary people today. The answer begins with understanding what money actually is in the modern banking system we live within now. Most people think money is something stored safely, waiting patiently until needed later by banks for everyone else. But modern money is primarily created through loans, not savings or physical cash today, everywhere across the economy. Doping. Whenever a bank issues a loan, new money is created instantly and injected into circulation digitally within accounts. This money did not exist before the paperwork, signatures, approvals, and computer entries were completed by institutions today. That means most money enters the economy as debt-carrying interest from its birth immediately for borrowers everywhere. Interest quietly ensures more money is always owed than currently exists anywhere within the system at all times. To pay interest, someone else must borrow again, creating additional money and expanding debt across the economy continuously. This cycle is not accidental. It is the engine keeping the financial system moving forward every day globally. When borrowing slows, the system panics because money creation itself begins to stall dangerously fast for everyone involved. That is why debt is encouraged, normalized, and quietly pushed at every stage of life from early adulthood. Credit cards, student loans, mortgages, and car loans keep money circulating constantly through households nationwide without meaningful pauses. If everyone stopped borrowing and paid debts entirely, the money supply would shrink rapidly, causing severe shocks everywhere. That is why saving alone often feels like running uphill, while the ground keeps shifting beneath you constantly. Your savings are standing still while the system is designed to reward movement through borrowing and continuous spending. Inflation is not a mysterious accident. It is a predictable outcome of this design over long periods everywhere. As more money chases the same goods, prices rise quietly year after year for consumers across everyday life. And this is where saving starts to feel pointless, frustrating, and emotionally exhausting for many people watching costs climb. Waiparan. Most savings accounts pay interest far below inflation, meaning your money loses purchasing power quietly every single year. This slow erosion feels invisible at first, but over time it explains why saving never feels like progress. I remember watching my balance grow while my anxiety grew faster whenever rent, groceries, and insurance increased again. That disconnect creates mental exhaustion because effort and reward stop feeling linked in any meaningful way anymore today. Most people respond by saving harder, cutting joy, and blaming themselves instead of questioning the structure behind their money struggles. I did the same for years, assuming discipline alone could outwork a system quietly stacked against savers everywhere. But discipline cannot beat mathematics, especially when inflation compounds faster than interest paid on savings accounts long term. This is why money feels like it is leaking away even when you are doing everything responsibly today. The system rewards those who borrow, invest, and own assets, not those who simply store cash over time. This explains why asset prices rise, while wages and savings struggle to keep pace for most people today. If you feel stuck, it is often because you are playing a game designed for different players entirely. Workers are taught to save, while asset owners benefit from inflation and easy access to credit markets today. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply how incentives shape behavior within the financial system itself works. Understanding incentives helped me stop feeling broken and start seeing my situation clearly for the first time ever. It shifted my focus from self-blame toward learning how the system actually functions around us daily life. To date, that understanding does not make life easier, but it does make confusion disappear slowly over time for good. When confusion fades, you can finally decide your next moves intentionally, instead of emotionally under pressure and fear. But before we talk about what to do, we must understand why saving feels insufficient for so many. Because without that clarity, any advice risks reinforcing the same frustration cycle again over time for most people. And that is exactly what keeps millions of hardworking people feeling stuck, despite good intentions with money today. Troward. Saving feels logical. But logic alone cannot overcome a system designed to dilute idle money over time consistently. This design pushes money to move, borrow, spend, invest, because movement keeps the financial machine alive everywhere today. When money stops moving, banks earn less interest, governments panic, and economic growth begins slowing rapidly nationwide together. So the system quietly nudges everyone toward borrowing, spending, and staying engaged with debt constantly throughout daily life. Saving breaks that flow, which is why it often feels punished rather than rewarded emotionally over long periods. I noticed every official advice praised saving, while quietly ignoring how inflation reshapes outcomes for ordinary working people. Inflation sounds abstract until you realize it slowly taxes your time, effort, and past labor every single year. Each dollar saved buys less later, meaning yesterday's work funds less of tomorrow's needs than expected for families. This explains why people feel exhausted running harder, yet watching the finish line drift away financially over time. It is not laziness, ignorance, or failure. It is physics, mathematics, and system design colliding together every day. Once I accepted that truth, the shame lifted and curiosity replaced frustration inside me about money and life. Curiosity led me to study how banks, governments, and incentives actually shape everyday financial behavior for average Americans. That learning changed how I viewed saving not as protection, but as only one limited tool within systems. Relying solely on saving ignores the reality of how modern money behaves under pressure during inflationary economic cycles. This realization felt uncomfortable because it challenged advice repeated confidently for generations by schools, families, banks, media voices. Yet discomfort was necessary because comfort kept me trapped following rules that no longer worked financially today anymore. Many people sense this mismatch, but lack language to explain why saving feels insufficient in modern economic conditions. Without explanation, confusion turns inward, becoming stress, guilt, and constant self-doubt about money choices and future security. I lived in that mental loop for years, believing something was wrong with me financially despite working hard. Breaking that loop began by understanding money's design before judging my behavior habits, decisions, and financial choices fairly. Understanding design does not mean rejecting responsibility. It means choosing smarter responses within realities instead of shame alone. Once I saw this, clearly saving stopped feeling like failure and started feeling incomplete without other tools available. Modern systems quietly reward leverage ownership and participation, while punishing stillness, patience, and excess caution over time consistently. This is why people following every rule still feel behind, even when numbers appear disciplined on paper today. Rules taught decades ago no longer match incentives shaping today's money, housing, work, and debt realities for families. Yet questioning those rules feels uncomfortable, because authority, repetition, and tradition make outdated advice feel safe to follow. I had to separate emotional comfort from financial truth, even when truth challenged my habits and beliefs deeply. That shift helped me stop chasing safety through saving alone and start asking better questions about money systems. Questions like, who benefits when money moves? Who struggles when it stops? And why over long periods today? Those questions slowly replaced fear with clarity and allowed me to observe patterns calmly across everyday finances. I began noticing how inflation, borrowing, and asset prices moved together regardless of individual effort or discipline levels. That observation explained why saving harder rarely closed the gap for most working people over long careers today. Effort still matters, but effort alone cannot overcome structures designed with different priorities than personal security needs today. Recognizing this freed me from endless self-correction and opened space for strategic thinking about money decisions. Instead of blaming myself, I started mapping how the system rewards certain behaviors over time consistently today nationwide. This perspective shift reduced anxiety because confusion is often more painful than hard truth about money realities. When you understand why something fails, you stop internalizing the failure personally and regain emotional balance around finances. That emotional relief is critical before making any meaningful long-term financial decisions without panic reactions or fear. Otherwise, advice becomes noise, pressure, and guilt rather than guidance you can trust during uncertain times economically today. Before changing tactics, we need to fully understand the loop keeping people stuck inside modern money systems today. Credit scores are often misunderstood as rewards for responsibility when they actually measure participation within the borrowing system over time. I once assumed eliminating debt would strengthen my score, but the system quietly penalized me for stepping away from borrowing. Credit systems prefer predictable borrowers who carry balances, pay interest consistently, and remain engaged with debt long-term. Having no debt does not signal strength to lenders. It signals inactivity and reduced profitability for financial institutions. That realization shocked me because it contradicted everything I was taught about responsibility, stability, and financial health growing. The system rewards maintaining manageable debt levels, not eliminating debt completely, or stepping outside credit dependence for most households today. This creates a behavioral loop, encouraging constant borrowing, repayment, and borrowing again to demonstrate reliability within the system. Over time, that loop shapes decisions, subtly influencing housing, jobs, insurance, and everyday opportunities for millions of people. I noticed friends without debt struggled more with approvals, despite being financially cautious, disciplined, and prepared on paper. Meanwhile, borrowers carrying balances but paying consistently advanced smoothly through the system with fewer obstacles over time nationwide. This pattern revealed credit scores as tools of conditioning, not measures of personal worth or intelligence at all. Understanding this helped me stop chasing perfect scores and start questioning incentives shaping financial behavior everywhere today around us. It also explained why advice encourages small balances rather than full payoff, despite sounding contradictory to common sense. Maintaining debt keeps you visible, profitable, and measurable within systems relying on continuous participation over time nationwide today. This does not mean debt is good. It means the system depends on controlled ongoing debt to function. Once I accepted that truth, the pressure to eliminate debt instantly softened significantly inside me over time slowly. Clarity replaced panic, allowing me to approach decisions thoughtfully instead of reacting emotionally under stress and fear daily. That mindset shift prepared me to understand the deeper loop connecting debt, inflation, and feeling stuck together clearly. Because credit is only one part of a larger cycle shaping modern financial life for everyone today nationwide. And understanding that full cycle explains why so many responsible people feel permanently behind financially today despite effort. Keys. Debt enters the economy as loans, meaning interest guarantees more is owed than exists at any moment in practice. This mathematical gap forces continuous borrowing simply to service interest without reducing total debt overall over long periods. When one person repays interest, someone else must borrow, creating new money to cover that shortage system-wide, constantly. This is why economies rely on perpetual expansion of credit, rather than widespread debt freedom for stability narratives. If borrowing slows money supply contracts, unemployment rises, and panic spreads quickly across markets nationwide, today severely fast. That fear motivates institutions to encourage lending growth even when households feel stretched financially over time, increasingly hard. I realized this explains constant messaging, pushing credit cards upgrades, refinancing, and buy now options everywhere today aggressively. The system depends on future promises more than present savings to keep operating smoothly long-term economically nationwide. Saving removes money from circulation, which feels safe individually, but stressful collectively, for systems reliant on flow dynamics. That tension creates policies, incentives, and narratives subtly discouraging excessive saving behavior across modern economies today, everywhere globally. Once I saw this, saving alone stopped feeling like a solution, and more like a partial tool only. Without understanding this, math people internalize failure, blaming themselves for outcomes driven by structure, not choice or effort. That misunderstanding fuels shame, anxiety, and endless self-correction loops around money decisions for years, silently accumulating stress. I lived inside that loop until understanding replaced emotion with clarity and perspective, slowly over time, completely finally. Clarity did not remove challenges, but it removed confusion, which was the heaviest burden I carried daily mentally. Once confusion lifted, choices felt calmer, intentional, and less reactive to fear and pressure cycles around money decisions. This is the turning point most advice skips before offering tactics, tools, and strategies for financial improvement journeys. Without this understanding, strategies fail because emotions sabotage execution under stress and uncertainty repeatedly over time for people. Before fixing behavior, we must understand the system shaping incentives, outcomes, and pressure at scale across society today. That understanding explains why saving alone leaves so many responsible people feeling permanently stuck financially despite effort everywhere. Looking ahead, technology is making this system faster, more efficient, and less forgiving for mistakes by ordinary people today. Algorithms now approve loans, adjust rates, and monitor behavior, instantly shaping access to money with minimal human judgment. Digital banking removed friction, but also removed grace periods, understanding, and flexibility many people once relied upon daily. When systems automate decisions, small mistakes compound, quickly affecting credit access, insurance pricing, employment, housing opportunities simultaneously nationwide. This increases pressure to stay perfectly compliant with rules few people fully understand or can consistently control long-term. I noticed stress rising, not because people became careless, but because tolerance for deviation quietly disappeared over time. The system rewards precision, consistency, and predictability, while punishing volatility, pauses mistakes, and human variability increasingly today nationwide. As control tightens, saving alone offers even less protection against shocks, surprises, or sudden income disruptions for families. This explains why many financially careful people feel one emergency away from collapse despite years of saving effort. Healthcare repairs, layoffs, and rent spikes expose how fragile cash-based security becomes under modern conditions today nationwide. I am not sharing this to scare you, but to explain feelings many people cannot articulate clearly yet. Fear keeps people reactive, while understanding creates space for better, calmer, more deliberate decisions over time today ahead. Before offering solutions, I want to ground us in reality, rather than false comfort or outdated promises everywhere. Because pretending saving alone guarantees safety only deepens disappointment when reality inevitably disagrees for most households today nationwide. Understanding this prepares us to think differently about money choices without panic guilt or self-blame anymore today. It shifts focus from perfection toward resilience, flexibility, and awareness within imperfect systems we live inside today together. That mindset matters because the future will demand adaptation, not rigid obedience to outdated financial rules anymore today. Technology will not slow down, and neither will pressures shaping how money behaves in daily life today ahead. Knowing this early gives you psychological advantage, allowing choices rooted in clarity rather than fear and confidence long term. And that understanding sets the stage for discussing what actually helps people move forward sustainably over time together. Understanding this does not magically fix finances, but it restores agency clarity and calm decision-making under pressure. Agency means choosing responses intentionally, rather than reacting emotionally to fear, guilt, or shame around money decisions daily. I stopped asking why I felt behind and started asking how systems shaped my outcomes over time consistently. That question changed conversations, habits, and expectations, giving me space to plan realistically without panic fear pressure spirals. Planning realistically does not mean pessimism. It means aligning actions with how money actually behaves today in practice. It means building buffers, flexibility, and awareness instead of chasing perfection or approval from flawed metrics alone today. Most importantly, it means releasing shame because shame clouds judgment and keeps people stuck longer than necessary today. Once shame fades, curiosity grows, and learning replaces panic-driven decisions about money with steadier thinking over time. That is why understanding systems comes before tactics, strategies, or tools, promising quick relief to stressed people everywhere. Without understanding, tools become crutches and strategies collapse when conditions change unexpectedly, causing confusion, fear, regret, and paralysis. I want you to feel empowered, not blamed, as we move toward practical thinking together about money decisions. In the next part, we will reframe what progress actually looks like within modern money realities today clearly. Not perfection, not extremes, but sustainable movement aligned with how the system truly works over long periods today. This perspective helps you stop feeling late behind or broken compared to others around money narratives today everywhere. Because many comparisons ignore starting points, access advantages, and timing within unequal systems shaping outcomes today, nationwide, globally. Recognizing this does not excuse inaction. It simply redirects effort where it matters most for resilience, stability forward. That redirection is how people slowly rebuild confidence, momentum, and trust in themselves again, over time consistently today. We cannot change the system alone, but we can change how we navigate it, thoughtfully, calmly, strategically together. That navigation begins with clarity, patience, and honest expectations, rather than guilt-driven urgency around money choices daily. If this perspective resonates, stay with me, because the next step is learning what actually helps people move forward. Understanding money will not free you overnight, but it frees your thinking, which is where lasting change begins. If this video helped you feel clearer, calmer, or less alone, please like it so more people find it. Share it with someone who saves responsibly, yet feels stuck, because conversations like this are rarely had openly. Subscribe if you want honest money discussions that respect reality, psychology, and long-term resilience rather than hype. And comment below what part resonated most, because reading your experiences helps guide future videos thoughtfully for me. Cheers.